The Madlanga Commission continues to uncover corruption. Can we afford for this commission to stop doing the work that it's doing? And in other news, the Sunday Times editor wins the lottery. And also, how much more corruption and mismanagement can the voters of Umfuleni down in the Vaal region take before they start changing their votes? All this and more on the Political Insider. Let's first give a big shout out to the sponsors of this episode, Trade Nation. If you would like to trade financial markets, currencies, commodities, anything, go to Trade Nation. It's a respected platform, international platform. They have access to every kind of market you can imagine. So check out their details at tradenation.co.za or hit the button. You'll find the details in the comment section below. Let's start off at the Madlanga Commission, where they were hearing from the Tshwane Metro Police Department Deputy Chief. Suspended, obviously. Everybody seems to be suspended. And that is Umashi Dlamini. And he spent the day in the loving arms of the Madlanga Commission, and it didn't go terribly well for Mr. Dlamini. It was not very, very difficult for the commissioners and the evidence leaders to show that, together with the notorious Sergeant Fani Nkosi and the help of Chief Financial Officer, I got to take a pause when I call him the Chief Financial Officer, because he's a guy who's meant to look after the money. In the meantime, he was quite clearly one of the people doing his best to misappropriate money, and that was the smooth Mr. Gareth Mnisi. The three of them, Dlamini, Nkosi, and Mnisi, were running a scheme and a racket that would have made the mafia proud. In actual fact, what am I talking about? They're better than the mafia. They had guns, and the guns were legal, so it was great. There was tender rigging that was quite apparent, clear, and relatively easy to prove. Now, at this point, I've got to say that I almost feel a little bit of sympathy for these rackets. They clearly have been running for decades, okay, of unbridled theft and corruption. And the police have done nothing about it. In actual fact, that's not strictly true. The police have been part of it. So you can understand that these criminals have become so sloppy, they didn't even try to hide their crimes. They were doing it in broad daylight. The thing that we've got to start thinking about is what is going to happen after the commission, because then these syndicates are going to go underground. They're not going to do it so brazenly in the future. You won't have those WhatsApp records to go back to. That will prove everybody guilty. What I found interesting was, yes, there was tender rigging. Yes, it had to do with bogus security guard work that they were taking money from. But the fact of the matter is, this was happening in July of last year. And it ties in with exactly the time that General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi held his press conference to say there is an epidemic of collusion between politicians, criminal syndicates, and police. This was happening right until the death. And, the question we've got to start asking is, when are we actually going to really pull in the politicians into this? And I'm not talking about, I know early on in the commission we heard from the Minister of Netflix, Senzo Mchunu, who's been suspended, and the previous police chief, Bheki Cele, who told how nice it was to get money from criminals and ask them for money. I'm talking about the politicians at local government level. You must understand there's a slight difference. Even though Gareth Mnisi, as the Chief Financial Officer, to use him as an example, is appointed by a politician, I want to know when the politicians that are meant to manage the CFOs, these cities have MECs in charge of finance. Where's that MEC? When are they going to appear at the Madlanga Commission to tell us what they know? They had to sign off on all of this. When is the mayor going to appear? I mean, we have seen unbridled theft coming out of Ekurhuleni. That Mayor Kakaza hasn't been called to the stand. Neither has Mayor Nasipi Moya from the city of Tshwane. When do the local politicians get to answer as to what they knew and what they didn't know? Because there's only one or two answers, isn't there? Either they didn't know this was happening, in which case we should find this out so that people don't vote for them again, or they did know, in which case they are complicit in the crime. But if you ask me, what is starting to become very, very important is that the politicians from local government level, much like we're seeing metropolitan police chiefs and deputy police chiefs and city managers and so on and so forth, we've gotten to know the structure really well. Where are their political principles? They need to answer. Let's take a scandal like Life Esidimeni, where 144 people were killed by the Gauteng provincial government. When are they going to answer? Or where this all started, which was the gunning down of Babita Deokaran. Remember that? It seems like a lifetime ago that we were talking about this. But 2 billion rand looted from the Tembisa hospital that's under the control of the Gauteng provincial government. When is the MEC for Health in Gauteng going to be on the stand? When is the MEC for Finance of Gauteng going to be on the stand? When is the Premier of Gauteng going to be on the stand? These people are either bad at their jobs, in which case we need to know, or they're complicit in the crime. Either way, we need them to appear at the Madlanga Commission, and it would be great if we could hear from those political principles. But back to what happened yesterday, Umashi Dlamini, he is going to follow some of his friends into a prison cell. They weren't smart enough to hide their crimes. Fani, of course, is waiting for him already. Gareth Mnisi will drive in there in 5 supercars. But there's going to be recourse for those people. But I'm sure you'll agree with me, it would be great to see political recourse as well. It would be wonderful to see politicians going to jail. Staying with commission work, that genius, the well-known legal mastermind, Brown Mokgotsi, the world's ultimate fixer, the guy who couldn't even fix his own attempted assassination. Oh, Lord, we have seen some things. He's going to be bringing a recusal application against Madlanga Commission evidence leader Matthew Chaskelson. Basically, that is to say, this guy shouldn't be in the, be asking me questions because he has behaved unfairly or improperly in questioning of Mokgotsi. Well, I'm not sure how one behaves unfairly or improperly when you're questioning somebody who sits in the middle of criminal syndicates and working between politicians and that. Really, what you're seeing from Brown Mokgotsi is the same thing we saw from Suleiman Karim. His heart attack, is these guys just trying to avoid their day in the hot seat at the commission. But we'll wait and see, and I've got a feeling that the commission's going to dismiss it quite easily. Last word on the commissions, the talk is that it will be extended to August. This time it's not looking like the Zondo Commission because there is action being taken. The extension is necessary. The commissions are proving to be more than necessary. The point is that while it's doing this work, and remember, we've heard about corruption in Ekurhuleni, we've heard about corruption in city of Tshwane. There's a big boy sitting right here with a budget nearly equivalent to both of those cities, and that's the city of Johannesburg, and we haven't heard much yet. And we know how well that city is run. So it's a matter of time. I think we should set aside a month at least for that. Remember, we love reporting about our favorite Minister of Social Development, Sisi Tolashi. She of the SUV theft brigade, those that decided that a gift for the ANC Women's League was actually a gift for their children. Maybe they just need hearing aids. But anyway, she returned 2 cars to the ANC. These are the cars that she decided to keep safe so that they don't get repossessed when the sheriff comes to take all the ANC stuff. So she kept them safe by putting them in her children's names. That was her excuse. I'm not making that up. So she returned 2 cars. One was one of the original cars that she stole. The other one was a different car. Right? Because remember that she originally stole 2 BAIC X5s and put them in the names of her children. But she returned one of them. The other one, her son had sold already. So she returned a Cherry Jaiku J7 in its place. I'm sure the ANC mind. I don't know what the details are in her paying for the 3 years of usage, wear and tear. Maybe we can ask our friends Pace Car Rental what they should be charging Minister Tolashe for the use for the last 3 years, or children in any event. But still, no word from President Cyril Ramaphosa. Remember how quickly he dismissed Andrew Whitfield, but not a word from the president. Quite clearly, Minister Tolashe has got some compromising photos or something of Cyril Ramaphosa. Maybe she bought the couch. Remember the couch that's missing from Phala Phala? Who knows, but he still hasn't said a word about his own organization that he's also the president of, and he appoints her as a minister. We are going to discuss all of this and more at our State of the Nation breakfast, 6th of May, next week, where we're going to hear from Dr. Frans Cronje, and we're also going to hear from Bonsai Shongwe. Breakfast in Sandton. You can't miss it. It's going to be fantastic. If you want to join us at that event, go to our website, sona.co.za, sona.co.za, and you'll get all the information you need there, or there's a link in the comment section below. But we would really, really be grateful for your support. So, turns out that the editor of the once formerly esteemed Sunday Times newspaper, Makudu Safara, has been suspended. Why? Because he was funded by the lottery, or certainly his own personal company was. And in return, he wrote some very, very, very flattering articles about the lottery and its management. Now, we understand that the lottery is the government's biggest trough because there's no accountability. The lottery gets money in from people that don't understand maths. They think they're going to win. The odds are too terrible for words. They give money there in hope. And the lottery is meant to then disperse money to good causes. And the term good causes is in the eye of the beholder, isn't it? You know, somebody may think that a good cause is a nursery or an orphanage or a feeding scheme. I may think that a good cause may be my holiday home in the Cape. You know, so they get to spend the money wherever they like. And what better way to do it than to co-opt some newspaper people, right? So police have found that he received 550,000 Rand of lottery money that went to one of his companies. His company, and in return, he did some real sweetheart journalism. And his company, Unscripted Communication, received 550,000 Rand for media projects. Only problem is there seems to be no proof of these media projects. He did this while he was editor at Sunday World in 2023, and in true South African tradition was then promoted to edit the biggest newspaper in the stable, being the Sunday Times. So he is on special leave, the other thing that South Africans love. We love special leave. And, so now at least this isn't costing taxpayer more money. This is costing Arena Holdings. But it just shows you how cheap it is to buy coverage in legacy media. Our rates are much higher. If you want to get us to do a nice article about you, the price has been set by Mr. Safara. Beat that, and I'll tell you how wonderful the lottery is. So let's see how it goes. We know that we've got some really dirty municipalities, and possibly one of the worst. Dirty as in corrupt, and dirty as in dirty. If you want to understand how disgusting a place can be, take a little trip down to the Vaal and go to the Umfuleni municipality. The place is a rubbish dump. It's a big rubbish dump. So the politicians have worked out another scheme. This one is seriously complex. They book payments, this happened now in the last 2 months, for overtime waste collection. 15.7 million Rand waste management overtime. And they don't even bother to get anybody to collect waste. So This is like the ultimate in corruption. You don't steal 50% of the money or 30% of the money. You steal it all and you don't even bother to collect waste. So once again, we've seen them have scandal after scandal, and it's funny until it's not funny. Because let's remember that the financial official, Martha Ransofu, was gunned down, shot in the back by those brave assassins when she was uncovering a massive fraud scheme. Now, their spokesman responded with great hostility to these claims, saying that the figures are wrong, even though the figures are public, and accusing everybody that reported on it as gutter journalism, which I thought was quite ironic, seeing as though that whole municipality is one big gutter. And, in Sebokeng, people have resorted to burning their own rubbish, which creates a terrible environmental problem and a health problem for people that live in those areas, right? To manage the overflow of garbage. There's also rodents infested in the area. So who wants to live like that? Well, I can tell you who wants to live like that. It's ANC voters. Because it seems to me that it doesn't matter how badly Mfuleni is run. It doesn't matter what they do. It doesn't matter how much money is stolen. Those voters seem to love the ANC and will always return them to power. I don't see it stopping anytime soon. Mfuleni voters in that benighted area, stick around. You're going to vote for the ANC again. Live with your filth and your rodents. Thank you so much for joining us here on The Political Insider. Subscribe to the channel. We'll see you again soon.